Hey y'all, Zelda here. I am coming to you with another episode of the Dragon Channel. The dragon that we're going to be spending some time with today inhabits this ametrine carving that's done by Leandro de Souza. And the decks that Jaya picked out to communicate with us are the Prairie Majesty Oracle, the Reclaim Oracle, and the Uncertain Oracle. I'm going to pick one card from each of these. Before we do that, I'm just going to tune in, call in all of our spirit guides and supports to connect in particularly with Jaya and Jaya's energy and magic and whatever she would like to share with the collective. If you want to take a moment and just take a deep breath, this can be a time where you get to just connect to your center and ask that your guides and your teams and your intuition allows you to discern and take what information is meant for you and move forward with that and use your sacred discernment to leave the rest. So, Jaya is a dragon that is very connected to flower spirit energies and also to angelic energies. And this is interesting because I've talked before, particularly in my dragon portals, about how dragons have this direct access to the Akashic records and they are able to engage almost like with this constellation of information and aspects. And a lot of times we associate with different vibrational frequencies through smell and through color. And flowers have this vibrational quality, thinking of things like flower essences, which I also make with the support of some of my dragon guides, but just with also like working with flower medicines and flower spirits. So she loves to work with those different ones. And we are going to pull the cards now and see what she would like to share with us today. Pulling the cards so that I can clear the rest out of the way. Okay. So, the first card is from the Prairie Majesty Oracle, and it says, "Burn. What is ready to go so I can grow?" The message that's feeling really clear about this is this aspect. It says wildfire on the card and burn. And I think about how sometimes transitional periods can feel kind of destructive. They can feel like they really pull up all of the roots. This feels almost like a tower moment if you think of tarot, and it feels also kind of like weeding the garden. That's the kind of imagery I'm getting, is like going through and pulling up the roots of the things that are actually like taking up space, because an overcrowded garden means that oftentimes the plants do not get the nutrients and the support that they need, or having like something blocking the light of something else in a garden, like a tree. So in context of these other cards, the Reclaim Oracle deck, this says desire, and the Uncertain Oracle deck says solstice. And when I feel this energy, I am aware of the coming up that we are doing to an eclipse portal. We are in an eclipse portal, which means that we're starting this, or we're going to be, I guess, our first eclipse is like coming up. So we're on this like eclipse energy threshold, I guess, and then we'll be in the eclipse portal until the next one after that. The first one being this Saturday, which is a lunar eclipse. It is on the new moon, and it is coming at this time of like kind of a sweet energy of all of the astrology this week. As I mentioned, I'm not an astrologer, but I just like know this kind of context. Having said that, solstice, it is not necessarily the solstice time of year, but the message that's coming through is that solstices are these thresholds, they're these hinge points, and that we are actually like stepping over into a new season, astrologically speaking, of being in like eclipse season. And that as we step over, we're going to be asked to let go and release some of the things that are perhaps crowding our garden. And in order to do that, then we are making space for the things that we desire. I see this, I see all of the shooting stars. I see this one little being that is kind of pointing and has their eyes open. Everyone else is kind of looking, and this one kind of is like, feels like it's leading the way or something. What's coming to mind is like, how can your desire or what you truly want be a North Star for you or a guiding light? How can it allow you to shift your momentum and your trajectory to be able to dedicate the energy towards what is most useful for you? Also, one of the things that's coming to mind is that like this process of like releasing and burning and allowing that burning off, I'm seeing imagery of like a phoenix and this quality of like the phoenix being reborn from the ashes. I see both the color on this of this gold, like kind of like the embers almost, but also like this immense amount of green and new life kind of quality. And so when I see all of these together, I see the movement of the kind of like incineration quality that transformational times can have, partnered and angling towards this kind of new growth. And that there are a lot of ways that we can follow what we desire into that. And that also this happens so that we can move unobstructed towards the things that we desire. And some of the ways that I'm feeling this could take place feel like they're around obstacles being cleared, but that those obstacles are sometimes things that we are attached to, that we don't actually only have our growth in mind, we also have like the fear or the baggage or the stress of change, and knowing that that's actually pretty difficult for our nervous system. It's hard for us to tolerate change. It can be a really uncomfortable process. And so sometimes when we open up to our guide support, there's this quality of like burning down the structures that are unstable somehow, or burning down obstacles that are in our way, like plans getting canceled. I think of this being also kind of the wisdom of like Mercury retrograde, where like if things get canceled or get pushed off or don't go through, how can you trust that that is a detour that is like divinely set up by the universe? How can you trust that there is nothing that you need to be doing that you're not able to be doing? And so if something falls through, trusting that miscommunications are ways that we can have other things come to light, and that communication is like a process. And that includes miscommunications with ourselves. This is one of the ways, like, I almost see someone like writing in their journal or making like a vision board type of experience of like what you desire and where you want to go, and knowing that like you're not supposed to have all of that at the beginning. That's supposed to be an ongoing process that you are in a relationship with. And that updating that is actually a way that we honor our integrity and honor our growth process. With the solstices, I also think about like transitions in terms of like marking time or passage of time. Especially with Jaya, one of the questions that she has asked before is like, what is your blooming process like? So what is ready to go so you can grow is a very specific question of like clearing out, but also like, how do you let yourself flower open and make space for desire and joy in your life and kind of celebrate that gift. I also think about if there are like anniversaries or things that you're celebrating or like days that you want to mark, is there a way for you to like buy yourself flowers and bring some joy and delight into your life? I know that one of my altar practices, you can kind of see right there. One of the things that I do for the new and full moons is that I put a bouquet of flowers on the altar for my guides, but then I also enjoy them. Like, I have plants around me. I enjoy flowers as I go for walks. And so thinking about like how you can bring kind of like delight and beauty and joy into your life, even as there's this kind of like that movement, this kind of churning process, right? The kind of like turning the mulch, the weeding the garden, the wildfire that rages through and kind of thins the forest, so to speak. I'm reminded of how wildfires are a part of nature, and I think of like a big part of what makes room for spring is this kind of like death process and needing to weed out and not having like this constant process of bigger and bigger and more, but that actually like the clearing away, the death process is a very sacred and important part of that. And also in that, I think of like, it's okay if you are in a season in your life where you're feeling more like you're incubating or hibernating of a sort. I don't necessarily get the sense that that is happening, but sometimes we need like solitude, kind of like hermit energy or the hanged one or tethered one card, where it's like this kind of like incubation period, gestational period, this quality of like, I don't know what's coming, but the container for my transition or the container for change is actually really important and adds a lot of value to my process. This could be like being at the beginning of a creative phase where like you're not pressured to have it be something yet. Or it could also be a transition period where like you're not sure what is quite next, but you need to go through that period to be able to get to the other side. And that is also really important to remember, is that sometimes we don't actually know what exactly we're supposed to be heading for. We don't actually fully see the end of the light. That's like that hermit energy kind of coming through. It's really hard to tell what a tree is when it's like a baby tree. There's not a lot of like discerning features yet. So you can't always tell like if it doesn't have leaves on it what kind of tree it's gonna be, unless you're really good at like plant identification. And so that also is like, don't necessarily judge your like fledgling projects or your fledgling garden because it hasn't like fully bloomed into transition. Like the solstice is like these peak times, but they're like, when I'm thinking of it as transition, sometimes the like desire to grow indicates what needs to be cleared away. Okay. Thank you so much, Jaya. Just seeing if there's any other messages. I think that is complete for today. I'm so grateful that she spent some time with us. I loved her kind of being able to guide on the decks and the cards. Yeah, let me know if anything resonated with you, and I look forward to seeing you next week for the weekly tarot and for the Dragon channel. If you're interested in booking a private reading or are coming to the collective reading, I am doing a new moon event for this new moon eclipse. It's going to be a lot of energy. It's a relatively low energy exchange, $12.34 to join. It's held over Zoom, and it will be at 8 p.m. Mountain Time on the 30th of April. The link will be below. I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye.